Today I wanted to talk about what you need to do to prepare your client for a deposition. All too often what happens, especially in a civil litigation case, is that both sides of the lawsuit are going to want to depose different witnesses as a part of the case. And it's important to explain to your own clients what a deposition is and the process, so that they have some expectation about how it's going to go. So I like to meet with clients at least 10-15 minutes before the deposition, where you have some quiet time and you can explain what the deposition is. You can explain what kind of questions they should expect from the other side, and explain to them the importance of telling the truth and only answering the questions that they're asked. Oftentimes, if you don't have a lot of experience in depositions or you haven't been deposed before, when you're asked a question, you typically go beyond the scope of the question and you start giving more information than what was actually asked. And it's important because as attorneys, when we're conducting a deposition, we want that. But if you're defending a deposition, you don't necessarily want your client giving more information about the case. You really want to make sure that the attorney is asking the questions and that your client is only answering the questions that they're asked. And I also like to remind clients about the importance of being truthful and providing candor, because you don't want your case to start to go sideways on you because you didn't brief your client on the deposition and your client feels like they have to hide the ball, so to speak, on what the facts were of the case. If you have a case, then it doesn't matter what your client says as long as they're telling the truth and you know about it ahead of time. And so that's why it's important that you know your case, you know what's going on. I don't recommend just showing up for, doing a deposition for somebody or defending a deposition without knowing the facts of the case. I suggest at least reading the complaint so you have the background information. It'll also help you let the client know what kind of questions to expect, because you will have started to anticipate the questions that the other side will want to have admitted or clarified in the deposition. And it's also important to be realistic about time constraints. Very rarely is a deposition only an hour. Often in a lot of the more complex civil litigation cases, depositions go on for hours and hours. And so I do recommend telling clients, plan on being there all day. If it goes less than that, great. And then finally, there's nothing wrong with asking to take breaks during the deposition. I don't recommend trying to take a break every single time, the client's, asked a difficult question. They should be prepared for that. But I do think it's important to take some breaks to kind of establish a little bit of a rhythm, and to give your client a chance to get up, stretch, clear their head. If you feel like they're starting to go down a line of questioning, and you want to make sure that your client's prepared for it, nothing wrong with asking to take a short break, meeting with them out in the hallway, telling them, hey, this is the kind of questions I think you should expect. Just tell the truth. We've already talked about the case. We know, the facts of our case, and we'll get a chance to depose them as well at a later stage. So those are a few just kind of general tips I recommend for depositions and preparing your client ahead of time. I also recommend make sure you get there early to the location. Nothing is more uncomfortable than showing up late to the deposition. They've got a court reporter there, or they've got a transcriptionist there. That person's waiting, the other side's waiting, your client's waiting. That can all be avoided if you make sure that you're there early. There's an old saying that if you're on time, you're late, and if you're early, you're on time. So be on time. It'll help you be more at ease. It'll give you more time to talk to your client ahead of time, and give you a chance to look over your questions and look over some notes to make sure that you're prepared for the deposition, so that you can represent your client to the best of your ability.